So today we have a very special Ask the Expert Lunch and Learn. We're joined by John Finch. He serves as the director of Able United at the Florida Prepaid College Board in Tallahassee, Florida. He oversees the launch and continued success of the Able United program, and previously he served at the ARC of Florida in various capacities, including the launch of a dental program that seeks to help individuals with intellectual and development disabilities receive emergency dental care. With experience in both the nonprofit social services field and financial sector, Jones continues to strive to make a difference in people's lives. In this presentation, he'll share more, but we're going to learn how able accounts provide an opportunity to save tax-free without impacting eligibility for future public benefits like supplemental security income and Medicaid. So he will share more. We are very excited to have him. We were supposed to have some sort of drum rolls or music, but we don't, so I'll do this.
It's okay. Next time.
You hear some of that drum roll, but thank you, John. We really appreciate it. We love your organization. We appreciate that you're taking the time to share these wonderful resources and information with our community. Again, any questions, you can use the chat or wait until the end so we can watch this wonderful presentation. And with that, John, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. So I'm going to hire Rosa to travel around the state and introduce me because that was quite an introduction. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you all about Able United and specifically Able accounts and what we're going to learn all about them. So since this is a lunch and learn and we want to make sure you know how to use the chat feature, let me know what you had for lunch or what you're going to have for lunch in the chat box. It'd be interesting to see. Are you sandwiches, soup? What are we eating today? I think I have. I made some spiral noodles out of zucchini with some chicken meatballs and some pasta sauce. That's what I'm having for lunch. So let me know what you're having for lunch. But I have a presentation here. Let me go ahead and share my screen where you guys are using that chat feature there. That is awesome. So as was already kindly said, my name is John Finch. I'm the director of the state of Florida's ABLE program. That's right. This is a state-run program. It's administered through the Florida Prepaid College Board. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll learn everything there is. Jay is skipping lunch. Oh, bagels that Rose is eating breakfast for lunch. That's great. So what is an ABLE account? What is Able United? Why are we here? Thank you, everybody. So some good mix of here. We got some clam chowder from Whole Foods, some salmon and rice. That's great. But let's go ahead and get started. I kind of want to just give you kind of an overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why this program exists in the first place, how they got launched, the history of the program, how it's managed here in Florida. We'll specifically talk about eligibility and how this could benefit the individuals you serve. If you may rely or a family member may rely on public benefit programs like Medicaid or supplemental security income, we'll talk about how this program works with those. And then finally, we'll end with enrollment and account management, as well as an offer that's good for 3 more days. So keep that in mind as well. So what is ABLE? ABLE is an acronym for Achieving a Better Life Experience. It's based on a piece of legislation that passed known as the ABLE Act back in 2014. And what this piece of legislation did was actually add a new section to the Internal Revenue Code, section 529A. So if you've heard of 529s, that's a college savings plan, and it kind of mimics that, but it's really uniquely designed for the disability community or for individuals with a severe diagnosis. And it really encouraged those individuals to put money aside, kind of like a Roth IRA, to grow tax-free, and really to help support their health, independence, or quality of life, and to be able to do all that without negatively impacting their public benefits. And so I usually ask, how many people have heard of a savings account, right? If you've had a savings account before, you put extra money in there, it kind of grows. If an emergency happens, you can utilize it. Able account's kind of like that. It's also kind of like an investment tool where you can actually put money in there, it can invest in the market, it can grow tax-free. Has similar benefits to like a special needs trust where you're sheltering funds in the account to not impact your public benefit. So it's pretty unique. When the legislation passed, it did require each state to pass their own enacting legislation to determine how it was going to be run in their state. The state of Florida chose to create this program under the Florida Prepaid College Board. And so we The program itself is what we call a nonprofit. It's a direct support organization of Florida Prepaid. And so we have a nonprofit board that provides oversight of this program. We're statutorily housed at the State Board of Administration. But if you've heard of Florida Prepaid, that same entity is managing the state of Florida's ABLE account. And we actually launched July 1 of 2016. It's coming up in a few days, 8 years. Can't believe it. It goes by quick. If you've heard of the ABLE Trust, I always put this in here. We're not the ABLE Trust. We're not ABLE Trust accounts. That can be confusing because trusts are kind of a set language, but the ABLE Trust is a very much of an employment focused, also a direct support organization that helps individuals with disabilities seek and find employment, while ABLE United is savings focused. So what's really unique about this program compared to other programs is the reason why this exists is because of individuals like yourself, family members who almost 20 years ago sat around a dining room table and wanted to say, why can't we start saving for our children without negatively impacting their future? And so primarily started in the Down syndrome community, but when it passed, it really broadened the doors and opened it up for a lot of individuals with disabilities or diagnosis who occurred prior to age 26 to start saving funds in this account. And it really opened the doors for people like Sean and Jen, who was at that dining room table looking at saving for her child without negatively impacting his SSI benefits when he turns 18. But also opened the door for like Alicia here on the bottom, who wanted to find a tool or mechanism for her mom to start saving money for a wheelchair accessible vehicle. She was able to do that with an ABLE account, or maybe it's individuals who may not even be relying on public benefits, but want to say, hey, is there a way where I can make my money go farther through a tax advantage account? But what if an emergency happens that I needed to use it? Well, guess what? You could do that through the ABLE United account. And so Sean, or not Sean, I should say, Elliot and his mom, Sandra, utilize an ABLE account. He kind of uses the funds to help support his DJing needs, but could use it for a variety of expenses and not rely on public benefits. So that's how it's kind of set up here in the state of Florida. But I want to move forward to who's actually eligible to open one of these accounts, who can have an ABLE account, who can manage the account on behalf of that individual. And so it's important to note that an individual can only have one ABLE account nationwide. As I mentioned, we are the state of Florida's ABLE program, but there are 47 other ABLE programs out there. And so 2 of these 3 rules kind of apply to all ABLE programs. It's a federal rule that we have to follow, but one's kind of unique to Florida, and that is you do have to be a Florida resident at the time you apply. We are greatly being funded by the Florida legislature to allow this program to exist. And with that, we want to make sure we serve Florida first. And so you do have to be a resident of Florida at the time you apply. However, if you move out of state, you can take this account with you, but also check out what that new state's ABLE program may offer. Now, the next requirements are true for all ABLE programs. And one is that the disability or the diagnosis of onset had to occur prior to age 26. Doesn't matter the current age of the individual. We have people that are in their 80s that have an ABLE account. We have newborns in the program, but their diagnosis did have to be diagnosed prior to age 26. Now, unfortunately, what that did was it left a lot of individuals kind of on the outside looking in. A lot of later in life diagnosis, a lot of mental health diagnosis may occur in late 20s or early 30s, and now they can't qualify for an ABLE account. However, thanks to hard work of advocacy work and a lot of states getting on board to push this legislation federally, that age is actually being adjusted up to age 46 in the year 2026. So about a year and a half from now, individuals who have a diagnosis in 30, 35, even 46 will now qualify for an ABLE account. And so hopefully we're going to see a lot more individuals that are being touched by NAMI or other types of later in life diagnosis like multiple sclerosis will now qualify for an ABLE account. So that's the age of onset part. But also that disability, that diagnosis, it does have to be severe. So what does that mean? Well, if an individual is on supplemental security income through the Social Security Disability or Social Security Administration, or if they're on Social Security disability insurance, so maybe they were working, built up credits, an injury happened, or a disability was diagnosed, and now they can no longer work, they might be receiving SSDI. or maybe a family member, a parent has retired and now their survivor benefits are going to their child with a diagnosis, they can also qualify for that. But if an individual is not currently on public benefits, they can actually self-certify saying, hey, I'm not on these public benefits, but I do have a severe disability or diagnosis. How do I go about doing that? It's pretty simple. It's a box you check saying, yes, I have a diagnosis from a doctor. It is marked in severe functional limitations. It's expected to last at least 12 months. And some people are not sure if their diagnosis meets that work or that definition. We do have a physician's form on our website where individuals can download, take to their doctor to sign off saying, yes, they meet the requirement. And as I mentioned, you can take the ABLE account with you if you do mail out of the state. We try to make the best option for Florida by being free. We'll talk about fees later, but many other ABLE programs charge a fee. However, some states may have a state income tax deduction. So I always encourage individuals to check out if they move out of state, what their state's new ABLE program may offer. High level, this just shows you the example of some disability categories that the IRS has provided. So during the enrollment process, we're going to ask you, hey, list the qualifying disability. You have to check one of these boxes. Is it a developmental, intellectual? To you, we're talking to psychiatric today. So, it could be schizophrenia, it could be bipolar, PTSD. There's quite a few listed there. But that diagnosis did have to occur currently at 26. But those are the type of examples. And we also have a cool little eligibility wizard. If you want to get some more details or some more direction to see if you qualify, we have that available on our website. All right. Also, what's unique about this account is the individual with the disability, we'll call them the beneficiary of the account, also is the owner of the ABLE account, right? So if you open this for a child, they own the account. If you open this for an adult, they're opening the account. Or if the individual's opening it for themselves, they still own the account and they're the beneficiary. But somebody else can actually manage this on their behalf. If a person has capacity, they could choose somebody to manage it, like a friend, a family member, or they can have somebody else who might have some kind of authority in their life to sign up the account. We generally call this individual the authorized legal representative, but basically what it does is it gives that individual authorized signatory on the account. And so there's a list of individuals who qualify, like a legal guardian, power of attorney, parent, spouse, sibling, grandparent, or if there's nobody else, or if an individual is receiving Social Security funds and has a representative payee, and they want to put those funds in the ABLE account, then a payee can actually manage this account on behalf of an individual. And there are some organizations that do that, and they can set up accounts as well. But that ownership still belongs to the individual. You just might have somebody else managing the account. And so I'll take a brief moment here. Are there any questions so far? I'm just scanning through there, the chat, and people could always unmute themselves and interrupt me, and that's fine as well. But any questions on kind of the history or setup here in the state of Florida? All right. Not seeing any, so that's awesome. We're going to keep moving and talk about public benefits. Okay, so this is a little unique because this may or may not apply to you. Primarily, when I say public benefits, I'm talking about what we call federally means tested programs. So this is something where usually it's a state and a federal kind of partnership. There's usually rules when it comes into how much earnings or how much cash somebody has on hand. We call those resources and income. And so they say, okay, well, we'll take that into consideration, and you also have to meet some other qualifiers. A lot of individuals that we serve are typically receiving one of these, but not necessarily. I would say probably a third to 2/3 is on a public benefit, but there's a good chunk of individuals who currently are not. And so the biggest ones of these is Medicaid, right? So Medicaid is a federal and state program that helps pay for a more robust set of healthcare services. Usually it's income restricted or resource restricted. There's also some kinds of rules and regulations if you qualify. Maybe it's a disability, maybe you're elderly. There's some rules. We also have waivers for people that might have an intellectual or developmental disability or a spinal cord injury. So those waivers exist as well. But basically, it doesn't matter which Medicaid your program you're at. I actually have a listing here of all the types of Medicaid programs. And so you just get a glimpse of all these types of programs we have. So quite a bit. I mean, there's quite a bit of different kind of Medicaid programs out there. But on this little sheet, it tells you two things, like how much income you can have and receive this benefit, as well as how much cash or assets you can have on without impacting your Medicaid benefits. So what ABLE does is it actually solves the asset limit. It doesn't solve the income limit, right? So you can't shelter income with an ABLE account, but you can shelter how much cash you have on hand. And for some individuals, that's only $2,000 to $3,000 you can have in an ABLE account before it negatively impacts your Medicaid. And so the great thing is money in the ABLE account doesn't count towards that limit. And so it allows individuals to save more, have more, and then hopefully use those funds to achieve a better life experience. So one of the concerns people had, and something that exists out there, is called Medicaid recovery. And so some people were worried that if, hey, I'm putting money in an ABLE account, that individual unfortunately passes away, does the state come in and take that money? And the answer is no, right? Really, the state of Florida is not going to file a claim on the ABLE account, but there is something called Medicaid estate recovery. Basically, if an individual passes, all outstanding qualified disability expenses are paid for, including funeral and burial. And then if they had any leftover funds, then that could go to the estate of the beneficiary, which may be, subject to Medicaid estate recovery if they're over the age of 55. So something to consider, if you're opening this account or establishing an ABLE account and the individual is on Medicaid and they're getting up to 55, you should really look at trying to spin or utilize this account while they're living. So it's all that kind of planning. The other big benefit program is supplemental security income. And so this is a federal supplement program that provides basically cash resources, a cash benefit to help pay for housing. There are a lot of rules when it comes to SSI. However, the great thing is generally money in the ABLE account and even taken out of it is disregarded when determining that eligibility for supplemental security income. Now, there's a few rules when it comes to that. They say, okay, you can't have more than 100,000 in an ABLE account or it could impact your SSI. It will start counting as a resource. Also, if you're using this account to pay for housing related expenses past the end of the month, then that could count as a resource. So if you're using it to pay for housing expenses, just make sure you pay it in the same month as the withdrawal, or just have the ABLE account pay it directly. And then once again, I just want to highlight that, hey, even, if you put income into an ABLE account, it still counts as income, so you can't use it to shelter income for SSI purposes. I always do encourage individuals to check out the online programs operation manual system that Social Security has. So you can just Google POMS and ABLE or Social Security and ABLE accounts, and you should find it pretty fairly quickly, and it'll give you a little more details and give you some examples. And once again, we do submit all information to Social Security, so they'll know if you have SSI in an ABLE account, but they do ask to be proactive to tell your local office if you do establish an ABLE account and are on SSI. So that was a lot, right? And so unless you're in the public benefits world or currently receiving it, you might not have any questions, but I did want to provide that information to you all, and if there's any questions. All right. Awesome. We're going to keep on going, Rosa. Bagels, though. Bagels, Rosa. All right. Good for you. Here we go. All right. Enrollment and account management. This is what we're all excited for, right? You're ready to establish an ABLE account. You said, John, you sold me. Wait till the end. I'm going to sell you even more. And once again, I'm a state employee, right? So my goal is to educate you to help you make an informed decision about this. So what does it look like to actually enroll? So since we're in the state of Florida, we don't have a brick and mortar place, right? We're not going to go into like a local office. You're not going to go into a bank or a credit union to establish this account. You're going to visit our website, ableunited.com. There you go to enroll. And this is kind of what the home screen kind of currently looks like. And that might change from time to time, but open the top account right there. And it's going to take you to our landing page to enroll. You'll notice it might look a little bit different. It's actually run through a company called Vestwell. So they are customer user interface. So when you log in and you're creating the account, you're using a platform called through a company called Vestwell. And since this is a financial product, we're going to ask you some financial information like date of birth, social. We're going to verify who you are. There's asking you some readily available questions based on some history of your credit. You're going to enter your email address, all the information on the individual who's this account's being established for, like their diagnosis, is it permanent? You know, do they meet the qualifications? After that's all done, you'll go through the process of actually linking your bank account, because there is a $25 minimum to get started. And we use a company, an API is what it's called Plaid Link. So it's gonna look kind of funny, because you're gonna be going this to say, hey, link your bank account directly to your Able account. It's going to ask you to log into your account, and that just makes it a little more secure on our end, and prevents some fraudulent activity. So it protects us both. Finally, contribute that $25 and select where you want that money to go. So Laurel said here, I'm from the Center for Independent Living in Key Largo, Florida. We help with these topics. That's awesome. So there you go. If you do have questions, you can also reach out, especially as it relates to public benefits, that the SIL there can help you out, which is awesome. All right, so ableunited.com, you go, you set it all up, you put $25 in. What all is that detail? Putting more money in, how does that work? What are the rules and limits when it comes to putting funds in an Able account? So the good news is anybody can contribute to an Able account. So, you know, if Rosa had an account for a child, for herself, if she's like, hey, John, it's my birthday, send me $50. And I said, Rosa, I just met you, but okay. And she sends me a link. I could send her $50 directly into her Able account, and that's considered a completed gift. So it's not a donation. But anybody can put money in Rosa's account. It could be from herself if she had money, friends, family, organizations. Anybody can contribute to an Able account. There is some limits. It's $18,000 per year from all sources. So, you know, if I put in $10,000, somebody else put $5,000 in, that's $15,000. The most that can go into that account from any source is $3,000, so $18,000 total per calendar year. And that's based on the gift tax amount that does go up occasionally. I think when we started, it was only $14,000, so it does go up occasionally. Now, there's other ways. There's ways to put other kinds of funds into an Able account. So, for example, 529 college savings plan. Maybe you're saving for college and they're no longer utilizing that account or unable to go to college. They can actually roll those funds over to an Able account directly, so there's no tax penalties. Individuals can put leftover or directly deposit Social Security Administration funds into an Able account. But there's some additional rules, like making sure a rep payee can have it. Able to work can allow individuals who are working and not saving for retirement to actually contribute above that $18,000 limit. So it's pretty cool, because maybe they can do that and take advantage of the Savers Tax Credit. A great way for individuals to utilize this fund or use this program in this account to maybe save for even retirement. And once again, they'll highlight that, you know, earned income still counts as earned income. So Donna asked a question here, or I should say Donna and Rick. Hello. Can you transfer from an existing special needs trust to an Able account? And the answer is yes. So when the language came out, it defined anybody or person to include trust. And so we see a lot of special needs trusts actually funding Able accounts. And the reason why it's not in this presentation, but just high level when we talk about special needs trusts and Able accounts, the benefit of having an Able account with a special needs trust is the Able account's a little more flexible. You don't have tax penalties or any taxes on an Able account typically if you're using it. It's easily to use compared to, you know, having a trustee and always asking them for money when they could just put it in an Able account, and provides people a little more flexibility on where they can use those funds. So a lot of times we see individuals kind of using both to fund an Able account with their special needs trust. And so it's pretty cool. It's a good question. Yeah. Here's that gifting portal that Rosa's sending me to make contributions to her account. Except this one's Stevens. But yeah, so the cool thing is after you set up an account, you can actually set up this kind of online gifting page portal, send it out to friends, family, blast it on social media. It allows individuals to contribute via ACH directly into somebody's Able account. And so, you know, I hear from parents all the time, especially parents of young children or even young adult children, where they're like, hey, he doesn't need any more stuff, right? Can anybody else attest to that? Just me, house full of Legos, it seems like. I say, hey, well, why don't you give $25, $50, $100 towards their future expenses, where later down the road they might actually need it. So that's kind of our gifting portal. All right, so you're putting money in there, but where does it actually go? We get that question quite a bit too, right? It's like, is it a savings account? Is it just in the nebula? What's really unique about this program is is an investing type product, right? And so we do have an FDIC insured savings fund. It is an investment product, but it's FDIC insured. It's going to get a small interest rate. I say small. I think right now it's making a little over 5% for a savings product, which I don't know about your savings account, but mine's not earning 5%. But this account is. So if you wanted to put money in there and treat it like a savings account, you could. However, it's still an investment product. And when we talk about taking money out, it's not like, hey, I can go to the bank and get money out today. It does take some processing time. Maybe you want to actually invest in the market. You want to say, hey, I want to treat this more as an investment tool. You can do that. And so we have what we call pre-designed portfolios that meet the needs for most investors because they're already kind of diversified in how they're set up. Those are conservative, moderate in growth. Basically, the more growth you are, the more riskier it is, which basically means it's more has more of the US stock option that we use. Or maybe you want to make a customized portfolio. Maybe you want to have some savings. Maybe you want to have some investment, some of the pre-designed portfolios. You can kind of pick and choose between any of our 8 products. So you can choose between the FDIC option, those pre-designed portfolios, and those underlying what we call additional funds, where it's a prime, which is a money market account. It's kind of like the state of Florida's low income trust pool, where it has a little bit better returns than the FDIC, but it doesn't have the FDIC insurance. We also have a US bond, US stock, and an international stock. As you notice, those are managed by large entities like Vanguard and BlackRock. So what they're offering you is basically a very broad-based mutual fund type product. The great thing is since we are under Florida prepaid, we can leverage the savings. So basically, you're getting what we call an institutional share price of these products. So you would save a lot more money than if you try to go get this product out on your own. And so you get to pick and choose money that's going into the account. You get to choose any of these options at any time. You can set up systematic contributions. So maybe you're like, I want $50 to go to the FDIC product every time. You can do that. Money that's already invested in the account. So let's say your balance is $5,000. It's been sitting there and you want to move that in between some of the other options. You can only do that twice per calendar year. So keep that in mind if if you're trying to say, hey, I want to save for 5-10 years, and then after that 10-year period, maybe I want to move it to a savings side so I can purchase a vehicle or a home. So money that's in the account can only be moved around twice per calendar year, but all new money you get to pick and choose every time. It's up to you. Any questions on our investment product or who can put money in an account? All right. So anybody else online, the spender of their family, anybody else is like, hey, I like to spend the money. Eileen, is that you? Yes, she's smiling because she's going shopping as soon as she gets out of here. No, so how do you actually use the funds in the account? What can you use it for? So let's talk about getting the money out first, right? So comes a point in time, you're ready to take money out of your ABLE account. What does that look like? So this is an investment product. We do have to sell the product off. It has to clear, and then we have to transfer it to you, all right? And so if you want to do that via ACH to a connected bank, that takes 2 to 3 business days to usually clear. Our close of business is 4 p.m. So if it's before 4, it'll take 2 days. If it's after 4, it'll take 3 business days. So keep that in mind. You can also transfer it to what we call a connected prepaid card. We offer a thing called an Able Visa reloadable prepaid card. So it's not like a debit card directly tied to your account, but you do have to load it with funds. It's actually managed through a company called TrueLink Financial, and which is pretty cool because they offer a very robust set of services you're not going to find with a typical debit card or even a credit card. They're going to be able to let you, turn on and off certain merchants or certain criteria. So maybe you don't want somebody to shop on Amazon. I'm not guilty of that. But maybe you want to set a limit. Okay, only $100 on Amazon. You can do that. Or maybe you want them to, go out to eat with friends and they can use that debit card for that financial flexibility. But it is loadable. It does cost $250 a month to have that, but it provides a little more access to your funds more readily available. The other option is to request a check. That's through online, kind of like an online bill pay. You'll go on there, you'll still select, type in an address, a business, put in the memo, the account number or whatever. You'll get an image of what that check would look like. and then we'll send it out. Once again, that takes 5 to 7 business days to be processed, sent out, and received. So, and also depends on the delivery time, so it could take a little bit longer. Now, things to consider when you take a withdrawal of the account is, as long as the account and the funds used from the account are used appropriately, there's no taxes on the earnings portion. And we'll talk about what a qualified disability expense is here shortly. But also, when you make the withdrawal, you get to pick and choose where that money comes out of. So maybe you're in a situation where you have a savings portion and the investment portion, and you don't want to mess with your investment. So you could just take money out of the FDIC option. You have that flexibility to do that. And once again, when your withdrawal is made, we request that you keep documentation for the IRS or maybe the Social Security Administration. We're not going to ask for it, but if the individual is to be audited from the IRS, they're going to have to say, hey, show us the documentation that you had enough qualified disability expenses from the previous year. All right, so I can't hold on to any more. What is a qualified disability expense? What are people utilizing funds in the account for? So it grows tax-free and they don't have to pay taxes on those earnings. What can they actually be used for? So the treasurer is like, okay, we're going to give you 13 broad categories, even so much that they actually say it's to be construed broadly, right? So what is a qualified disability expense? Well, it's anything really that relates to an individual that's going to help improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life. And so they gave some examples of some of these categories. Health, education, housing, even, oversight monitoring, post-death, you could use these accounts. So let's kind of just deep dive some of these real quick. So health, what would be a qualified disability expense when it relates to your health? Rosa, do you like massages? Do you ever go to the masseuse? Yes, you like, right? You go get a massage. Is that a quality of life? Do you feel better after? No, is it worse? See, right? Quality of life. So a massage would be a perfect example of a qualified disability expense. But what about a copay at a doctor's? What about equestrian therapy? Maybe going to a group therapy session or taking a trip. All that would be a qualified disability expense. I jokingly say it's like, if I had an able account, I'd probably use it for Band-Aids because I have 3 boys and, somebody is getting injured or bleeding at any time or another. So that would be a qualified disability expense if I used it for that. What about education? Higher education, online courses, back to school shopping. I know we have a back to school shopping holiday this year. That's in August, so keep that on your calendar if you want to save even more, because then you can get double taxes, right? You get tax-free, and if you use your ABLE account, you get tax-free on the earnings portion. So win-win. But maybe it's just books. Maybe it's, if you think of a laptop to help them with online classes, maybe it's private school, maybe it's tutoring. All those would be allowable expenses. Housing. Maybe housing is paying their fair share of rent or mortgage or utilities. Maybe it's modifications or home repairs. All those would be qualified disability expenses. I think one of the success stories I heard was an individual who didn't really have a purpose for their ABLE account, but they were saving in it. And unfortunately, they were in Panama City when Hurricane Michael came through, and they had to relocate. And they actually used their funds in the ABLE account to help with all the relocation expenses. And so, great way to have emergency funding in an ABLE account. Transportation, maybe it's ride-sharing services like Lyft and Uber. Maybe it's putting a down payment on a car. I think some of our greatest success stories are individuals who previously couldn't save more than $2,000 can now save money in ABLE account and actually purchase their first vehicle. So that's pretty cool. Legal fees. So maybe it is a setup of a special needs trust, or maybe establishing a small business for that individual. Assistive technology and support can be anywhere from maybe modifications to a wheelchair or electronic devices that are going to help them navigate. And even end-of-life expenses like funeral and burial will be a qualified disability expenses. What's interesting is the Treasury say, hey, we're going to provide this other caveat. Other expenses approved by the Treasury. Their final regulations that came out doesn't really provide any more guidance. They gave one example of somebody using a cell phone and a cell phone plan to help them become more independent. That's a qualified disability expense. So it might be easier to say, what's not a qualified disability expense? Typically, if it's not going to benefit that individual. So buying other people gifts, giving your money away, that's not going to be a qualified disability expense. Gambling, right? If you hit the Hard Rock and you're pulling the slots with your ABLE prepaid reloadable card, that's not going to be a qualified disability expense. Anything that's illegal in nature. So we get a lot of questions about medical marijuana, right? Well, that's federally not allowed. However, maybe if you use your ABLE account to pay for those doctor's appointments or those kind of travel to and from the doctors for that, but the actual purchase of anything illegal in nature would not be qualified. Now, maybe you had no qualified expenses, for some reason didn't have any qualified disability expenses or had no purpose of the funds. What would happen? It'd be up to you to tell the IRS, hey, I took this money out. The earnings portion, you would have to pay income tax on plus a 10% penalty. But typically, most individuals can find some qualified disability expenses, right? If you went grocery shopping, you bought clothes, those are all qualified because the IRS did say, hey, even basic living expenses would be a qualified disability expense. So do you have to file taxes on an ABLE account? No, it doesn't require somebody to typically have to file for taxes. What will happen though is if you do, everybody's going to get what we call 5498 QA. That's us telling the IRS that you established an ABLE account while you're eligible to establish an ABLE account, the account balance, and the state you're with. And then if you do make a withdrawal, a 1099 QA will be filed. So if you've heard of a 1099, that's usually an interest form. You might have interest earnings. This is similar, right? It's going to show you how much money you took out of the ABLE account. Let's say you took out $1,000. Of that $1,000, maybe $75 was earnings. Well, that $75 of earnings, you don't have to pay taxes on as long as you used it for qualified disability expenses. So basically, you're telling the IRS, hey, yes, I had an ABLE account. No, I didn't have any non-qualified disability expenses. So you're good to go. You don't have to pay any taxes. But if the IRS were to come, you should, not have documentation on why that expenses were qualified. And remember, they're looking holistically for the whole year. So IRS will say, hey, you have $5,000 in total qualified disability expenses for the calendar year, provide $5,000 in receipts. So they're not looking dollar for dollar. We get a lot of questions like, oh man, my child loves to go to McDonald's. They'll have to keep every receipt. No, you just need it at the end of the year saying, hey, if they had $500, could you provide $500 receipts to the IRS? All right. So you all probably want to know by now, how much is this going to cost, right? Is this very expensive to set up? Is it, is it going to cost our family a lot of money? Unfortunately, the great thing is no, we want this to be as free as possible. So it is free to enroll in an ABLE United account. Depending on how you invest in the program, you might have some investment advisor fees. Our FDIC option has no fees attached to it. But if you chose our most riskiest options and you put $10,000 in, you would pay on average $29 for that $10,000 throughout the calendar year. Of course, that fee comes out of the return. So if you visit our website and see performance, you'll notice those will be net of fees. If you do, there's some optional fees, like if you wanted paper statements to be mailed to you quarterly, that's $10 annually. If you want that prepaid debit card, yes, it provides some enhanced features and flexibility. However, it does cost $250 a month, and that comes off the balance of the card. And we really want to make this the best value for Floridians. So that's why we don't have an application fee or a check fee. And knowing that it's been backed by Florida Prepaid, that history of 35 plus years helping 1 million families save for high education expenses, now helping the disability community. So it's pretty awesome, pretty great program. And just give you a little bit of background. So, we've been around for 8 years here in the state of Florida. We have a little over 11,000 accounts, but we just surpassed $100 million in savings across the state of Florida into this account, which is pretty phenomenal to think. Just 8 years ago, many individuals couldn't have more than 2,000 in their name, and now $100 million. So it's just amazing on that buying power, and looking forward to continued success and hearing amazing success stories of people utilizing their accounts. All right, so maybe you're like, John, I got some more questions, some more individualized questions. How do I get a hold of you? Great thing is you go to our website, ableunited.com. If you go to our contact us page, you'll see our customer service numbers. You can also find a generic email box. You can actually set up a meeting directly with me through Calendly. I usually do 15-minute meetings. As you need, you can come and we could talk. We also have a Spanish landing page, so ableunited.com/Espanol. We have live chat that may or may not be on. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not, just depending on the availability of our customer service reps. And then we have a ton of events like this one, for example. So thank you, NAMI Miami, for hosting us, putting this word out there. And also, best way though is customer service. It's going to be the quickest way to get a hold of somebody to talk through an Able account or questions about your account. And that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. And that number is there. All right, so here's what I've been waiting to tell you. All right, so if you establish an account between now and Sunday, right? So limited time, 3 days, right? Sunday, is Sunday 3 days? Yeah, Sunday. We'll give you $50 into your account. You just have to have it established and set up before the end of the month. It usually takes us about 6 weeks or so to fund that $50, but it's a great way for us to say, hey, we believe in this. We want you to kind of kick off your savings with this account, and that $50 would go towards that. And so it's a great way to try it out and see it's for you. I mean, it's free $50. Can't beat that. We have this on here just if you have more questions. We try to do a weekly kind of almost like our own lunch and learns. You can go on there, see us present. It's usually, streaming on social media somewhere, but you can also sign up for that using that QR code. And it's, usually it's fun and more laid back, just like a lunch and learn. I try to take some one-off questions. We might deep dive topics, or talk about what everybody had for lunch, just depending on how I feel that day. Oh, thank you, Donna Rex, so much for saying fantastic presentation. But thank you for reaching out. And with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you, NAMI Miami. Thank you so much, Rosa, for hosting us. But I'll go ahead and open it up for the time that we have on any questions you have and kind of turn it over to you.
Thank you, John, for sharing this wonderful information. Sometimes it's hard to navigate these wonderful resources. And some of the people in our community, they don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we do this. Also, on a side note, we should hire you to do our presentation.
Oh, wow. There you go.
It was great. And we can invite you to have some bagels for lunch.
There you go.
Want to come visit our office. But really, thank you. We really appreciate everyone joining. Our wonderful Eileen shared a couple of information on the chat about how to reach our programs. We have an event coming up. July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. I wanted to make sure to mention that. So all the information is there, how to reach out, but also you can reach out, John, with every question that you have.
Yeah.
We'll send the link of this recording so you can look back and see about the resources and all the important information that you share. And again, it's on the chat as well, but www.ableunited.com.
Yep.
That's their website. It has all their information. And this is definitely something that I was very eager to learn more about.
Awesome.
To be able to take, use those resources available.
Yeah.
And get more information. I love that, ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. This is pretty much what we're doing, improving the quality of life of the people, the wonderful people in our community. So we have that in common. And also, which I didn't know, how you share this story about the family members on a kitchen table that kind of came up with this. So we have that similarity. That's how NAMI started back in 1970s on a kitchen table.
Wow.
Trying to get support for family members of loved ones with mental health conditions. So
that's awesome.
We're here to support our community. All of our programs for support groups and educational programs are completely free. So please take advantage, reach out, and also take advantage of all the wonderful resources that John just shared with us.
Thank you. So I see a question came in here. Yes. If you don't mind, and if anybody else has any questions, feel free to put in there. Does this affect food stamps? So no, right? So EBT, SNAP benefits that look at, once again, income resources, ABLE accounts don't count towards those limits. So it does allow individuals to maintain their eligibility for that program. So it's another one of those means tested programs where ABLE doesn't impact. Another one would be FAFSA. We get some questions on, as a family, maybe an adult has an account and they got to fill out that FAFSA application and their child's going off to college. They don't have to count anybody's ABLE account in the family. So that's a great way as well to take advantage of those kind of programs. So, but yeah, this has been absolutely a blast. And if anybody else has questions, now is the time to put it in the chat.
And I wanted to share, you can put it in the chat. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can also do that as well. We have still a couple more minutes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask away, and we'll be here for the next couple of minutes. And if not, you can reach out to John and go to the website, the number that they provided, and ask more specific questions. And then also on our end, if you have any questions about NAMI Miami-Dade or programs, what we do, how to get some of our resources, please feel free to reach out. We're here, both of us and both organizations, we're here to serve our community.
That's
If
awesome.
not, feel free to log off. We'll
Yeah, I did want to give a shout out real quick to Steph Lenars, who's in the background. She's kind of my South Florida ABLE representative, and just thank you for her. She's in the background looking at questions, making sure I don't say anything I'm not supposed to. I think that's really, they don't trust me to speak alone, so they always have somebody else come along with me to keep me on my best behavior, which usually goes out the window. So, but I tried, Steph.
You did beautifully. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Steph.
He did, and thank you, Steph, for all the planning behind the scenes, the emails back and forth. We really appreciate it, and we'll make sure to share this wonderful presentation and resources with everyone in our community. It's much needed. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I guess there's no more questions, but please feel free to reach out. We're always here, and thank you for spending your lunch on this Thursday with us. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Thank you, John. Thank you, Steph. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. You guys have a great afternoon.
Thank you.